So let's now continue on this game screen with these buttons here. Here in the game screen, we already have this card as a container. And then we have this view which holds these two buttons. And I'd like to position these buttons next to each other. For this, we need to convert this view from flex direction column, which is the default, to flex direction row. And therefore, that's what I'll do. I'll add a buttons container here. And as a side note, we have a similar container on the start game screen. And yes, we could outsource this into a separate reusable component as well. Here I'll not do it because it's just one line of code, one line of styling anyways, this line here, but you could absolutely create a reusable component for this button row as well if you wanted to. You could even create a reusable component that holds these two buttons if you wanted to do that. That would absolutely be possible. Here, I will not do that though. To keep things a bit simpler, I will just add this view and again wrap these individual buttons into views for the same reasons as before on the start game screen. And then I can copy over the button and buttons container style, these two style objects, and add them here. And then I'll add these styles to these views. So this outer view receives the buttons container, and this inner view receives the button container, like this. And also this button. With that done, if we save this looks better. Just some spacing would maybe be nice. And to achieve that, I actually want to add some spacing below the instruction text or above this buttons container row. Now we could easily add it to this buttons container row, but I'll add it to the instruction text so that I can also show you another key concept and technique that you will likely use quite a bit when working with React Native. Keep in mind that we're not using CSS, so we have no cascading styles, we have no inheritance. But we can kind of replicate a similar behavior. What if we want to add some extra styles to this instruction text that should be applied in addition to the styles applied already inside of the instruction text component? Well, we can use props. In the instruction text component, besides getting the children, we could expect a style prop. Though the name is up to you and doesn't have to be style, but I will use style since that is the prop we used on all these other components all the time for styling. So now we get this style prop here on instruction text. And we can now merge the styles we get from this style prop with the styles we set up inside of this component, which allows us to kind of build such a cascading structure because we can now pass styles from a parent component into this component and merge it with the component-specific styles. Now this can easily be achieved by wrapping our styles into an array here. Because the style prop does not just take style objects, it also takes an array of style objects. If you do pass an array, by the way, the items are parsed and evaluated from left to right, so the right items and the styles defined in the right items can overwrite the styles defined in the earlier items. So here I add the style that's coming in through props, and I add it as a last item so that we could overwrite styles that are defined in this default style set here. So that we could overwrite these default styles from outside and, for example, assign a bigger font size if we wanted to. So now we accept this style prop, we add it to this array, and we add it such that the default styles could be overwritten. But we can of course now also add new styles besides overriding default styles by simply going to the place where this component is used, in this case the game screen, and adding this new style prop as a prop to instruction text. And then here I'll add a new style object, the instruction text object for example, name is up to you, and I'll add a margin to the bottom of 12. So I'm not overriding any styles, I'm just setting an additional margin to the bottom. And now we can add this here, like that. But this is an important technique which allows you to rebuild this cascading nature of CSS in React Native by simply passing this style prop into a component and then merging the incoming styles with the existing styles, possibly as we're doing it here, such that you could overwrite the default styles. Though of course you could also add style in front of the default styles if you want to ensure that the default styles overwrite the incoming styles, if there are any clashes. This is up to you and depends on the exact use case you have. Here I will add it such that we could overwrite the default styles. And with this, we now have this margin to the bottom and a bit more spacing between this text and the buttons.